All that remained was a man's wristwatch, a size 10 print, and a desert town staring into the dark. Taos, New Mexico, July 9, 2002. Sunset painted the Sangre de Cristo peaks blood red when a panicked voice cut through the police dispatcher's headset. "We haven't seen our neighbor all day. Her car's still here? Something's wrong." Minutes later, patrol lights splashed across adobe walls on Church Plaza. Officer Ramirez pushed open the unlocked door of apartment 3B, then froze. The air was metallic, thick, almost humming. Blood slicked the linoleum like black varnish, spattered upward in frantic constellations. On the bedroom floor lay 36-year-old Mariora Shant, silk robe torn, skin marred by 8 savage knife blows. One hand still shielded her face, as though she'd died mid-plea. Ramirez swallowed hard. Taos wasn't supposed to look like this. Mariora's story should have been a postcard. Born in the Balkans, raised under Swedish skies, she'd tasted more time zones than most people taste coffees. Friends were few, but wanderlust was company enough. 10 years earlier, a chance layover in Bahrain turned into love at cruising altitude. U.S. Navy pilot Mike Shint spotted the bright-eyed stewardess, proposed before the next deployment, and flew her to California as his wife. Fate, though, doesn't respect flight plans. A brain fungus almost killed him. Surgery saved his life, but left seizures. Mariora nursed him back, only to lose him to a drunk driver crash 2 years later. Grief hollowed her out. Healing looked impossible, until Mike's squad mate Michael Edmonds stepped in. Shared memories bled into quiet romance, and by summer 2002, the pair headed for art-soaked Taos, chasing a fresh start far from highway ghosts. Yet even high desert air can't muffle nightmares. Mariora's trauma resurfaced, the couple drifted apart. By July, she was unpacking boxes in a one-room flat the size of her old galley kitchen, smiling politely to teenage neighbor Nathaniel Duran as he lugged her suitcases upstairs. 3 nights later, she was gone. Detectives canvassed the scene, no sign of forced entry. A single man's wristwatch near the victim's head, face shattered, strap speckled red. Size 10 footprints tracked from kitchen to bedroom, stopping where Mariora made her last stand against the doorframe. Blood height suggested the killer struck eye level, 3 punches, maybe 4, before the knife flashed. Whoever did this knew her, or at least knew she was alone. On the sidewalk, dusk settled into a stillness too heavy for a tourist town. Porch lights flickered one by one, as if holding vigil, while justice groped for a trail through the dark. Inside, CSU techs worked in a hush, broken only by camera shutters. Officer Delgado bagged the shattered Casio G-Shock. Cheap, common, but its cracked crystal held a fleck of skin the size of a grain of sand. If DNA stuck, that watch could talk. Word flashed through Taos faster than a monsoon. By midnight, art gallery owners leaned over balconies, whispering about drifters and cartel ghosts. Reporter vans from Albuquerque crowded Church Plaza. The first homicide here in 9 years was front-page gold. Ramirez replayed the door. Deadbolt turned, chain undone. Someone Mariora trusted stepped in. No valuables taken, only a pearl earring ripped from her left ear. Its twin sat beneath the dresser like a silent witness. Rage, not robbery. At 2 a.m., the coroner zipped the bag. A single cicada started its dirge outside. From the balcony, the town looked postcard-con. Turquoise signs, lantern-lit patios, nothing to hint at the horror 1 floor up. Back at HQ, detectives hammered pushpins into a map. 12 names, 8 solid alibis, 4 question marks. Mariora's passport photo sat at the center, smiling unhelpfully. Small-town murders, Ramirez knew, died twice. Once at the blade, again in forgotten files. He swore this one wouldn't. The next morning, CSU chemist Leo Ortega phoned with the first lab whisper. Luminol revealed a set of faint heel drag marks leading from the bedroom to the kitchen sink, implying the killer paused to wash up before leaving. He wasn't in a frenzy. He was methodical, buying time, confident no one would knock. That single insight reshaped the board. Strangers act fast, acquaintances tidy up. The circle tightened. Ramirez felt a knot of urgency tighten in his chest. Detective Ramirez rubbed the grit from his eyes and rebuilt the timeline on a yellow pad. Times July 6th, 7:14 p.m. Time, Mariora leaves her shift at La Fonda with 2 takeout boxers. Asterisk 7:22, security cam. Her Corolla enters Church Plaza. Asterisk 7:41, a neighbor, Mrs. Chavez, hears soft laughter in 3B, then a male voice, mid-20s, polite. Asterisk 8:03, asterisk, the laughter stops. No one sees Mariora alive again. That polite voice became the case's refrain. Michael Edmonds, former Navy pilot, roommate-turned-boyfriend-turned-ex, claims he sketched landscapes at Rio Grande Gorge. 3 retirees back him up. Nathaniel Duran, 17-year-old skateboarder next door, carried her boxes, set up Wi-Fi, insists he barely knew her. CSU notes a rust-brown pinprick on his hoodie. Mitchell Rhodes, 42-year-old handyman with master keys, says he spent the night in Española. Mileage fits, but a neighbor saw him rinsing boots at dawn. While Taos PD processed 3B, deputies 90 miles away found grocery clerk Len Martinez dead in his trailer. Knife wounds, cheap Casio watch left beside him. 2 murders, 48 hours apart, same signature. Media branded it the watch killer. Gallery tourists fled. Church Plaza emptied by dusk. A state task force formed overnight. Forensic psychologist Dr. Rowan Tse profiled the killer as organized, souvenir keeper, confident enough to linger. Ortega's lab scraped a skin cell from under the cracked crystal. Partial CODIS hit. Richard Fresks, 49, passed assault, but wrong wrist size. Frisks pointed to his nephew Ryan, no match. Dead end. Rookie Jace Anders dug up a 1997 Stockholm restraining order. Mariora once accused a passenger named Nathaniel Durand of stalking her. Durand died in 2018, but had a son, Nathaniel Jr., now living in 3A, surname shortened to Durand. Ramirez's pulse spiked. A warrant turned Durand's bedroom inside out. Beneath loose floorboards, a shoebox wrapped in painter's tape. Inside lay Mariora's missing pearl earring, a Polaroid of her laughing at a barbecue, and 6 cracked watch faces. CSU swabbed the earring back. Blood type matched the victim. Duran shrugged. Found it in the hall. On July 16th, Ortega extracted a complete SDR profile from the G-Shock watch band. It matched Nathaniel Carter Duran. Statistical error 1 in 5.7 trillion. Officers pulled him from Algebra 2 summer school. In interrogation, he lasted 58 minutes before breaking. He'd brought wine to confess feelings. She laughed, said he was just a kid. Rage borrowed her kitchen knife. The watch cracked when she grabbed his wrist. He never mentioned Len Martinez. Mora County detectives kept digging, unsure whether to tie the cases or chalk theirs to a grim coincidence. News broke at sunrise. Live trucks lined Paseo del Pando. Anchors spoke in hushed tones about the team next door. Parents yanked flyers for the upcoming Taos fiestas, fearing crowds. La Fonda's occupancy dropped 60% in 48 hours. Edmonds, cleared but shattered, packed his canvases and left town, telling reporters, "Taos cost me 2 people I loved." Rhodes lost clients who feared any man with keys. He sold his toolbox and moved to Santa Fe. In lockup, Duran scribbled in composition notebooks, diagrams of clock hands intersecting at precise angles. "Doctor," C observed, "he's building an alibi for his ego, turning murder into mathematics." The DA assembled a bulletproof narrative. Cell tower pings at 7:30 near Church Plaza. The cracked watch, the earring, and Duran's confession. Trial date set for January 2003. Outside the courthouse, a single protester held a cardboard sign. "WA killed Lynn Martinez?" Ramirez stared at it, uneasy. Duran's phone never left Taos that night. Mora's watch face might still point to another hand. Justice, it seemed, arrives in increments. One tick, one ruined life at a time. Ramirez pinned the final photo on the task force wall. Mariora, smiling beneath a paper lantern at a summer fair months earlier, blissfully unaware. Beneath it he scrawled a silent vow. "No other lanterns dim on my watch." At dawn on August 28th, a brittle crust of snow glazed the Sangre de Cristo foothills. Summer had surrendered overnight. Detective Ramirez carried his thermos into a courthouse that smelled of varnish and tension. Inside, every bench was filled. Reporters, art colony bloggers, townsfolk who once left doors unlocked. Nathaniel Duran shuffled in, wrists cuffed, orange jumpsuit too large for his frame. He kept his eyes from the victim's photograph, Mariora laughing beneath papel picado at last year's fiesta. Judge Hall read the indictment: first-degree murder, aggravated burglary, tampering with evidence. Duran's mother gasped. The rest of the room held its breath. Duran replied in a clear monotone, "Not guilty. Trial date, January 13th, 2003. On the courthouse steps, cameras snapped like hail. Ramirez gave them one word, patience, and drove back to HQ. Cousin Perry. 72 hours later, Santa Fe deputies found grocery clerk Len Martinez in his trailer. 8 stab wounds, a cheap Casio watch laid beside the neck. But this watch was smeared with green primer, and a size 11 boot print tracked through dry and blood. Taos prints had been size 10. Media christened a copycat. Ramirez thought otherwise. The green paint detail hadn't been released. Whoever staged Santa Fe had inside knowledge or had watched Mariora die. Handyman Gaiman Dodd Slay Road asterisk wore size 11s and had master keys to half the apartments in Taos Plaza. Interview room, one-way glass. Ramirez slid photos. Mariora, Martinez, the fresh victim. Rhodes clenched his jaw only at the last. Ever do paint jobs in Santa Fe? Ramirez asked. Rhodes shrugged, claimed side gigs. CSU scraped green flecks from his fingernails. Spectral match to the trailer doorframe. Pawn shop video sealed it. The night Martinez died, Rhodes pawned a drill press. 3 busted G-Shocks sat beside the cash register. Confronted, Rhodes deflated. Gambling debt, eviction notice, rage that flared when Martinez docked his pay. He'd copied the Taos crime to muddy the trail. His alibi for July 9th, repairing a swamp cooler in Espanola, checked out. 2 killers, 1 macabre signature, a summer gone sideways. Palm's trial, January 13th, dawned in whiteout conditions. News vans ringed the adobe courthouse, their satellite dishes poking through snow like steel agaves. Inside, prosecutor Elena Gutierrez marched evidence across the jury's eye line. Nimes, the cracked G-Shock, its bezel preserving a speck of Durant's epidermis, statistical chance of random match, 1 in 5.7 trillion. Times, the single pearl earring from Durant's floorboards. Times, neighbor Mrs. Chavez recounting the polite male voice at 7:40 p.m. Times, luminol footage of heel drag marks leading to the kitchen sink, an unhurried killer washing up. Defense attorney Mark Velez cast Durant as a fantasist, a boy infatuated, yes, but too slight to overpower an adult woman. He floated Rhodes' name without saying it, describing an older man with tools and temper. Jurors watched Durant doodle clock faces on a legal pad. Forensic biologist Leah Ortega explained how sweat under a plastic strap can trap DNA for days. The courtroom fell silent when she described pulling Mariora's blood from the earring clasp found in Durant's shoebox. Snow ticked against window panes like a metronome. After closing arguments, jury forewoman requested a readback of Ortega's testimony. Deliberation stretched 6 hours. At 8:17 p.m. they returned. Ad's verdict. Guilty on all counts. Durant stared ahead, expression blank, then collapsed as deputies lifted him. His mother folded into herself, silent, tears. Sentence: life without possibility of parole. Munchin Saf's aftermath. Rhodes pled guilty to second-degree murder in Santa Fe, drawing 40 years. Reporters praised Ramirez as the man who cracked the watch murders, yet the detective's relief was thin. 2 human storms had crossed Taos that summer. Coincidence felt like fate trying new masks. That night, Ramirez drove north along Highway 68. The Rio Grande glimmered under a thin moon. Mountains were black teeth against the stars. He replayed every decision, boots, watches, paint, and wondered which overlooked detail might spark the next headline. He pulled onto a turnout, killed the engine. Across the valley, porch lights blinked like distant nebulae, each a small vote of faith in the world's order. Ramirez counted them, one by one, and promised to keep them burning a little longer. The penitentiary south of Santa Fe rises from the scrub like a sun-bleached fortress. 2 weeks after sentencing, Nathaniel Duran stepped through its gates in ankle chains, head tilted as if studying an equation only he could see. Intake officers shaved his hair, photographed the faint scar on his wrist where the watch had shattered, issued a state green uniform 4 sizes too big. Then the steel doors shut, and the town that raised him disappeared from life. Doran spoke little at first. He spent hours in the law library, copying case citations in neat block print, not to appeal. The public defender filed that automatically, but to hunt legal footnotes about time, statutes of limitation, clock-in records, daylight saving anomalies. Guards called him the chronologist. In group therapy, he asked whether regret alters the velocity of seconds. No one answered. Dr. Rowan Say visited once a month, sliding his chair just outside grabbing distance. Duran spoke of Mariora as a star collapsing under its own beauty. He was the gravity that gave her shape. Say noted the language, romantic predator logic, and asked about the watches. Duran smiled. Souvenirs are for tourists. I was mapping duration. Meanwhile, Mitchell Rhodes faced his own reckoning. On May 4th, he stood before Judge Ortega Sills, shoulders rounded, orange jumpsuit dusty from transport. Plea: guilty to second-degree murder of Lynn Martinez and evidence tampering in the staged scene. 40 years with possibility of 27. Long enough, the judge said, for you to forget what hour it is. The press tried to thread the two cases, but Taos had moved on. Summer tourists returned. Fiesta's banners fluttered above Church Plaza, and real estate brochures swapped quiet artist enclave for a reviving cultural hub. Only Ramirez felt the scene running under that fresh paint. He stayed on the force another 5 years. Homicide calls were rare. A barstool stabbing, a meth deal gone wrong, nothing with watches. Yet the cracked G-Shock remained in evidence locker 14B, tagged permanent hold. Ramirez checked it, monthly at first, then yearly, tapping the crystal as if it might tell a new truth. Late 2008, he drove to Albuquerque for Duran's appeal hearing. The defense claimed lab cross-contamination, but Ortega's chain of custody logs were ironclad. 3 appellate judges affirmed the conviction in 19 minutes. Duran, video linked from prison, blinked slow, then resumed filling a notebook. Camera zoom revealed a diagram. Clock hands intersecting at 7:41 p.m. The last minute Mariora was heard alive. Ramirez retired in 2010, badge boxed in a cedar chest beside folded newspapers headlined "Teen Next Door Kills Flight Attendant." He bought a small adobe west of town, planted chili restress, tried to sleep through nights without sirens. Some evenings he drove the old patrol route, headlights sweeping past 3B's balcony. A young couple lives there now. Their toddler's bike leans against the stucco, pink tassels fluttering. One August dusk, the child waved. Ramirez lifted his hand, heart-catching. Porch lights were coming on across the plaza, each a coin of trust. He counted them, 32, and whispered the oath he'd made years earlier, keep them burning. In 2014, Dr. Tsay published a journal article on temporal obsession and violent offenders. Case study ND featured prominently. The paper suggested killers like Duran anchor identity in precise moments, replaying them to avoid the entropy of guilt. Ramirez read it twice, felt no closure. He found a measure of it in 2017 when a clerk from evidence called. Rhodes's pawned Casios matched DNA from a 1999 cold case outside Gallup. 1 more hour accounted for, 1 more family notified. Justice, increments. Ramirez drove home along Highway 68, moonlight striping the Rio Grande. He imagined Mariora, not in her final second, but in the photograph the jury never saw. Laughing under papel picado, dusk, turning her hair to copper threads. Somewhere beyond the windshield, time kept moving, steady, indifferent. Yet, for a few miles, he could believe every porch light was a beacon, and that keeping them lit was still his watch to stand. In 2018, New Mexico funded a state cold case genealogy lab. Retired Detective Ramirez called Lieutenant Lucia Montoya, new head of the unit, and offered boxes the printer had spit out half a lifetime ago. Untyped fingerprints from the wristwatch crystal. Partial DNA from the sink drain, heel-drag luminol photos. They spread everything across his kitchen table. Chilly Ristra shadows dancing on evidence bags. Unfinished threads. Richard Fresks, the old partial codes hit, excluded. Michael Edmonds, volunteer DNA, no match. Unknown watchdog, still a ghost. 2020, a clue in plastic. Evidence clerk Anita Lopez noticed a lot code on the G-Shock's resin band and emailed Casio Japan. That batch shipped only to a PX in Bahrain in 1992, the year Mariora met Navy pilot Mike Shant. Lieutenant Montoya pulled rosters. 12 sailors bought watches. 2 visited New Mexico that July. 1, Chief Petty Officer Grant Delaney *, rented a Jeep near Taos the night of the murder. Delaney, now 54 and teaching ROTC in Texas, denied knowing Mariora, claiming his watch was stolen long ago. But sun damage markers in the sink DNA matched Gulf deployments, and rental car GPS hanged near Church Plaza at 7:15 p.m. Interrogation, February 2021. Interrogation room, bleach, burnt coffee. Montoya laid the cracked G-Shock beside a photo of Mariora in Bahrain. Delaney's eyes stalled. He confessed. Flirtation in, 92. Obsession a decade later. An argument that turned violent. The watch cracked when Mariora grabbed his arm. Panic made him run. He swore he never stabbed her, said she reached for the kitchen knife. Timeline now hinted overlap. Delaney wounded her. Teen neighbor Duran delivered the fatal 8 blows minutes later. Legal maze. New Mexico allows time successive causation, Knipes charges. D.A. Gutierrez offered Delaney 16 years for aggravated burglary and assault resulting in death. He accepted. Duran's life sentence stood. The DNA, the pearl earring, the confession still irrefutable. Families received 2 apologies, none sufficient. Ramirez called it a clock with extra hands. Too many ways to tell sorrow. Epilogue. A 2022 streaming documentary retold the dual killer twist, briefly trending then fading into algorithm dust. Taos tour guides added watchmaker walks to their flyers. Tourists pose outside former apartment 3B. Ramirez, 72, patrols memory more than streets. Some evenings he parks on Church Plaza as porch lights click on 35 now, 3 more than the night he retired. He counts them, whispers a tally like in prayer, and hopes added lumens mean added safety. The desert wind answers with quiet. For once, time keeps its peace. Genealogy in motion. Montoya's lab partnered with. A single YSTR allele from the watch band yielded a cluster of Delaney relatives in rural Ohio. Cross-referencing military records, she triangulated to the sailor in weeks. Ramirez, amazed, reread the spreadsheet, each name a breadcrumb across decades. In court filings, Montoya wrote, asterisk, technology outran the alibi. Defense lawyers argued privacy. Judges waved them off. Murder trumps ancestry etiquette. Ramirez's reckoning. Waiting outside the interrogation suite, Ramirez felt a strange relief. For years, he carried the image of Mariora dying alone. Now he pictured 2 sets of footsteps colliding in a cramped hallway, chaos multiplying. The truth hurt more, but explained the unanswered questions. The unhurried killer who still washed up, the open door, the polite male voice. He drove home, thinking about seconds and decisions. What if Mariora had taken the elevator instead of stairs? If Duran hadn't offered to carry boxes? If Delaney's Jeep had blown a radiator hose on I-25? Lives hinge on such microscopic gears. Pies. Town with a memory. By 2023, the Gallery District plastered over bulletins with new murals, but locals still lowered voices near apartment 3B. School teachers referenced the case in ethics units, warning students about obsession. Ramirez rarely listens. He keeps the cracked watch locked in a desk drawer. CSU released it after the last appeal. Once a month, he winds the hands to 7:41 and lets them tick until they stop. A private memorial measured in plastic clicks. Late summer, he met Montoya for coffee. She joked that cold case units will soon need supercomputers. Ramirez smiled. Even quantum clocks need hands, he said, tapping the table twice for emphasis. Summer 2024 arrived in ripples of heat and pinstriped thunderclouds. Detective Emeritus Alejandro Ramirez, now 74, sat on his porch with an oxygen tube and the rust-brown badge he no longer wore. Newspapers still arrived. He still circled crime headlines in red, though the lines wobbled. Across the state, Lieutenant Lucia Montoya, freshly promoted to captain of the Cold Case Bureau, cleared backlogs with software that could map DNA the way cartographers once mapped coastlines, inch by careful inch. Yet some coastlines end in mist. Lives behind walls. Zins. Niams, Idaho. Zins, Niam 821. Occupies a single cell in Penitentiary South. He teaches GED math, draws intersecting clock hands and margins, refuses therapy, yet mails monthly essays to Dr. Rowan C. Times a corridor with mirrors. I chose the one that showed me loved. In 2023, he was attacked in the yard, shiv wound, 2 inches left of the heart. He survived, joked to guards. The timing was inelegant. No visitors since his mother's stroke. Summit to you, Grant Delaney, Idaho, 88209, lands in medium security Hobbs. Arthritis bows his shoulders. He counts prayer beads, calls them seconds. Once a week he writes an unsigned letter to Mariora's sister in Sweden. 15 letters so far, each returned sealed. He keeps them neatly stacked, a tally of silence. Some months we dollars asterisk, faced the parole board in 2027. He spoke of debt, panic, bad decisions. The Martinez family displayed Len's watch in a glass box. Commissioners denied release. Time served is not equal time stolen. Hash, the town that endured. Taos rebuilt itself in murals of turquoise sky and stylized spirals. No watches. On the plaza, tourists sip lavender lattes where crime scene tape once fluttered. But at dusk, porch lights still ignite in slow sequence, a ritual locals call the 9/8-second vigil asterisk. 1 second for each stab wound, a pause, then illumination. In 2028, the council dedicated a pocket garden beside apartment 3B. A bronze plaque bears Mariora's maiden and married names, separated by a hyphen that feels like a bridge. During dedication, Captain Montoya placed the cracked G-Shock beneath river stones. Evidence turned cornerstone. Ramirez's last case. That winter, Ramirez felt his chest tighten like a fist around gravel. Doctors said heart failure. He said unfinished business. From his recliner, he annotated Montoya's case files, sticky notes blooming like desert flowers. Check gas station footage. Highway 285, the 8th of July, 02. Interview sculptor in 3B recurring nightmares. Montoya visited, brought biscochitos. He handed her a sealed envelope. If the clocks stop, he whispered, read this to the lights. 25th anniversary. July 9th, 2027. Evening smolders orange. Taos gathers for the quarter-century vigil. Paper lanterns line Church Plaza, each painted with a watch face frozen at 7:41 p.m. Tourist phones glow, but hush holds. Montoya steps to the microphone, opens Ramirez's envelope. He died 2 nights earlier, oxygen tube hissing like wind when the nurse found him. Greater than Astros, to everyone who still stands guard. Greater than we learned murder is not one story but overlapping echoes. We can't silence them, we can choose which echo guides us. Greater than porch light is a small thing, yet a map of small lights can steer travelers home. Keep yours burning, I'll watch from the dark between stars. Crowd silence fractures. Someone sobs, someone whispers, Amen. Lanterns lift, drifting over adobe ruins toward the Sangre de Cristos, until they vanish like embers into high desert night. Box. ### Coda. In a cell hundreds of miles south, Durang notes the date and sketches a lantern. Clock hands meeting at 12. Delaney feels air pressure shift, imagines desert wind. Rhodes in his bunk hears guards mention Taos on the radio. He closes his eyes, counts 8 seconds. Captain Montoya drives home along Highway 68, the river, a ribbon of pewter beneath moonlight. She clicks her headlights twice, the old patrol signal, and for an instant, believes Ramirez clicks back from somewhere ahead. Behind her, the town settles, porch bulbs glowing steady. From high above, they look like a constellation spelled in Morse. Hope, hope, hope. Some crimes never solve completely. Some clocks never find their hour. But in a desert that remembers, every new bulb is proof that time, for all its cruelty, still marches forward, and that justice, however late, can travel by light.